Okay, what should my next video be about? Well, I've always wondered if there's anything, like the one thing that is going to make you a better dog trainer overnight. It's not a bad idea, actually. Yeah?
Jose here from Train Me Please. So, what is the one thing that can make you a better dog trainer overnight? Let's go! If I had to pick the one thing, I think that it would have to be this idea of, instead of just focusing on how to address behavior when it is already happening and in front of us, to instead focus on changing what we do and our environment to create more of the behaviors we want to see from the dog. Paying attention to what triggers certain behaviors and tweaking these triggers can be a super mega powerful skill that will definitely improve your dog training skills if you are new to the concept. Let me explain. Very early in my dog training career, I used to focus a lot on reinforcing good behavior and ignoring bad behavior. This is fine, there is nothing necessarily wrong with doing that, and in general, I still use those principles. But there's another layer to all of this. I am part of many groups online of people that live with dogs. Many of them are not dog training groups, but groups that have an interest in dogs or a certain dog breed, for example. In these groups, you will often find people that ask for advice on things such as puppy biting, crying at night, jumping, etc. The standard advice that you end up getting from these groups is often something that has to do with how to respond to those behaviors when they are already happening. For example, you might get advice that if the dog jumps, you just stay still and say no. If a puppy starts mouthing or biting you, you should redirect her to a toy. These suggestions use consequences to try to change the behavior. Consequences are super important and can indeed change the future frequency of behavior. They can make jumping or biting less or more likely to happen in the future. But if that is all that we do, we would be ignoring one of the most powerful tools for behavior modification. And that is, drumroll, the antecedent. You see, I've been pretty lucky to go to some of the best dog training conferences in the world and to learn from some of the most knowledgeable people in the world of behavior modification. That exposure taught me how important antecedents and antecedent modification is. The best dog trainers in the world are very good at setting up situations that will generate the best behaviors from the dogs that they are working with. Now, I am sorry, I am using some lingo here and some fancy words. Let's unpack this and let's start by looking at the ABC framework. I have other entire videos dedicated to this, but let's do a quick crash course here. ABC means antecedent, behavior, and consequence. All behaviors have antecedents and consequences. My behavior, your behavior, and certainly your dog's behavior. There is always something that triggers a certain behavior and some consequence that follows it. For example, you cue your dog to sit. She sits and you offer her a treat. Your antecedent is cueing the dog to sit. The behavior is that the dog sits, and the consequence is that the dog gets a treat. Here's another one. As the antecedent, you switch from the sofa to sitting on the floor. The behavior is that the dog jumps. The consequence is that you say no and leave. The behavior of jumping in this specific scenario might increase or decrease. We would have to see how it progresses in the future to know for sure. However, rehearsal of the behavior in this situation has already happened, so it is fairly possible that the dog might do the same in the future under similar circumstances. Our consequence might work to decrease the behavior if that is our goal, but changing the antecedent and avoiding rehearsal altogether is an even more powerful option in my opinion. We could, for example, stay on the sofa and avoid the situation altogether. We could teach the dog the behavior on your bed and cue that before we move from the sofa to the floor. We should obviously reinforce the behavior. We could cue the dog to lie down before moving to the floor. This is a great option since lying down and jumping are physically incompatible. If we are talking about a young puppy, management solutions such as a crate and a stuffed Kong are also a great way to prevent jumping when we move. There is not necessarily one right or wrong answer to antecedent arrangement for this. There are many ways that we can tweak our actions or environment in order to create more of the behaviors that we would like to see. It is very important for me to mention here that I do not mean that consequences are not important. Quite the contrary, consequences are very important. Consequences drive behavior and they determine if the dog will do that behavior more or less in the future. The reason that I am focusing on antecedents is because they are at least as powerful behavior modification tools as consequences are. In my experience, they are also much less known or used by most people living with dogs. Another important consideration is that I do not mean that just because we do not like a certain behavior that we should never offer a dog the opportunity to engage in that behavior. Some behaviors should never be rehearsed, but others are normal and healthy for dogs to engage in. For example, we might not want our dog to dig in a specific spot in our backyard. We can, however, offer them the opportunity to dig in a safe location. We can even add a sand pit for digging in a given spot in our backyard. As an example of a behavior that we do not want any rehearsal at all, we can think of a dog that is uncomfortable when in proximity to other unknown dogs. We would not want this dog rehearsing aggressive behaviors, and it would be unfair to the dog to put him in that situation. Behavior rehearsal goes hand in hand with antecedent arrangement. It is the reason I always recommend that with really young puppies, we use management tools for the first few months. Early on, we use crates, exercise pens and baby gates so that we can create more successful toilet events, less mouthing and more chewing of appropriate items, etc. This is all antecedent arrangement. We are making it super easy for the puppy to choose behaviors that we want and also that fulfill the puppy's needs. In summary, the take-home message of this video is this: pay attention to your antecedents. They will make you a better dog trainer almost instantaneously. I have a question for you. Were you already aware of this antecedent arrangement concept? Let me know in the comment section below. We have been talking about antecedents a lot here, but now it's time for you to use a consequence on me. There's a reinforcer that you can use that will literally take you 2 seconds and will make me super happy. And that is to click the like button under the video. Additionally, if you want to get more content like this, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for showing up and sharing some of your time today with me. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!